So, Brian, you mentioned earlier saying, I don't know. How long did it take you to build that practice of just saying, I don't know?
What time is it?
Still working on it, huh?
Still working on that one. I mean, yeah, it's tough to look like you don't know. I mean, like Renee says, we get that in our brain where we think that people think we don't know what's going on. That we feel like people might lose confidence in us. And it's tough thinking that you always have to be right.
Jesse here, and that strange voice you just heard in the opening is my good friend, Mr. Brian Winningham. This gentleman has a deep connection with the field, so deep that he's named his company Field Driven Lean. And I think by listening to this episode, you're going to get a sense of how much he really appreciates his upbringing and the men and women out there that are doing the work, executing the building that we deal with on the regular. And true to form, we're going to get into some touchy feeling stuff. We talk about how he overcame dealing with the fear of being wrong, which of course seems to be the number one thing that Renee has been studying. Brian also shares the ingredients that he used to pivot when the pandemic hit and keep his company growing and thriving. And of course, we got to give some nuggets for our cerebral, process-minded L&M family members. And Brian does not disappoint. He brings it where he talks about his experience with Liberating Structures, which is an online resource that I think anybody can access. We'll be sure to leave a link in the show notes so that you guys can go there right after you go and follow Brian and Field Driven Lean on LinkedIn and all the other places. And of course, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe and tell everybody how much you like it. Brian's also like an expert on facilitating group sessions virtually. I've stolen many of his secret ingredients and applied them to my practice. He talks a little bit about how he got deep into virtual facilitation of lean coffees. Yes, I said coffee. For those of you that have never heard about a lean coffee, it is yummy awesomeness. Check it out. There's a local COP somewhere that you can get a hold of it. Look it up online. It's really good stuff. And like I said, Brian's got game when it comes to virtual facilitation and facilitating teams. Okay, you're probably tired of me flapping my gums. Here we go, Mr. Brian Winningham. What's going on, L&M family? We're back, and Mr. Rene Duron is here again. He's back from soaking up all that overtime. I love it, Brian. He worked so much overtime that he bought me some super cool gifts.
They're still in the mail. They're still in the mail. That's why you haven't received them yet.
Social distancing. I mean, it's,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a thing.
exactly.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm
Just gotta
helping
wait,
you
so.
out.
Yeah. Love it. And so we got Mr. Brian Winningham with us this morning or today. Owner, operator, genius behind Field Driven Lean. Brian, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great, Jesse. It's good to
Yeah.
see both of you folks again.
Likewise, man. It's super excited. You know, hometown, San Antonian. All three of us. You're in San Antonio today, Brian?
I am. We should have just met somewhere and had some breakfast together instead of doing
You
this.
know,
It's been a lot more fun.
I just, as I'm saying, I'm like, damn it, we could have had some really delicious tacos or something. Man, damn it. See, I don't think too far ahead usually.
Well, we need to get you a studio set up, Jesse, where you can have in studio guests and do this live. Since we're about through this stupid
Yes,
Hey, that would be
pandemic
cool.
thing.
yes,
That's a good
yes.
idea.
I like it. And entry,
AGC.
AGC. They have some sound things, but maybe.
Yeah, that one. There's one spot in that room where you echo regardless. That is the strangest thing. I don't know if they meant to or not.
Oh, there's that spot like kind of near the middle at the entry where if you're standing there, the sound hits you at different
It comes
times.
back at you. You say something just in a normal voice, and it's like, oh my God, it just freaks me out every time I've walked through that and had that happen to me while I'm presenting, and it's just weird.
Yes, yes,
It freaked me
acoustic.
out the first time it happened to me. I'm like, what is going on?
Uh-huh.
Well, Why
And
is there an
entry,
echo?
yeah, the price of entry will be delicious tacos. I mean,
Easy
we'll
peasy.
we'll be set. 10,
I mean,
4.
you can't get better breakfast tacos than you can get in San Antonio. It's just not
Uh,
possible.
Not possible at all. I'm telling all my friends up in Minnesota, like they don't even know. I got to figure out how to take some tacos from Eddie's Taco House with me to Minnesota and maintain the freshness, right? Like it's tough, but man, if they only knew, it would be.
You might have to look at a freeze-dried process for that, maybe
Mm-hmm.
something.
We got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So Brian, we've known each other. I think we established since like 2012-ish. You mentioned AGC. I think that's where we met. So the local San Antonio AGC chapter that does a lot of amazing things and connects us with amazing human beings in the industry.
Yeah, you and I started delivering classes together pretty quickly after we the C and Lean classes together before we ever tested or anything like that. Wait, right at the very beginning of anybody even knowing what that was in San Antonio anyway.
Yes, the CM. I remember that because there were a few people that were asking me like, "Hey man, how hard is the test?" I'm like, "I don't know. I never took it." But we were teaching it. And that's because we're practitioners, right? We've been practicing and banging our head against the wall for many years before this certification came out. Since then, I promise I did take the test. Actually, I need to submit my continuing education credits so that I can maintain the certification. But people, I'm not a fraud anymore. I took the test. I now have those certifications. I promise.
I'm still a fraud.
Oh, Brian. That's
And
hilarious.
I'm also in the middle of giving a class right now.
Uh-oh.
No,
Hey,
I'm finishing up Unit 7 right now with a group virtually. So
nice. Is that A3 thinking, or that's the?
that's the tools, all the different tools that other than Last Planner system that we talk about the CNB.
Yeah.
It's the fun class, the one that you and I used to have a lot of fun doing together.
Yes. Man, we got to
All
do
right.
that.
Question. So you say you guys met at this AGC. So what is? I've never heard of this. What is this? AGC?
Association of General Contractors. It's a national organization, sort of like oh gosh, it's just a trade organization for general contractors. There are American Subcontractor Association, ASA. There's ABC, American Builders something.
ABC, Associated Builders and Contractors.
Associated Builders and Contractors. So like up in Dallas, ABC and AGC are together. Most places they sort of compete.
Yep.
But they're one organization up in Dallas, and other places too, I'm sure. But it's it's an organization that sort of supports contracting.
Okay. So like, do you guys just meet up at these AGC meetings and party, or what do you talk about?
Sometimes they have barbecues and safety barbecues and stuff like that. I mean, pretty much every time I've been there, I've gotten fed, so I can't say it's not a party.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Right? I mean, pretty
Yes.
much, Jesse. I mean, I can't think of a single time I went there and there wasn't food of some sort. So I called it a party probably is not too far off.
Yeah. But they do deliver certifications and training and
they
planning.
advocate for general contractors. They have oh gosh, whatever it is that people do in Washington that go and
Lobbyists. Yep.
Lobbyists. Yeah, they have lobbyists and stuff like that. And they don't always come down on the same side I necessarily do, but for the most part they do.
Yeah. And they're providing a service. They provide services to the local building community. And that's really the important part of it.
They recognize local, they have, best projects locally and stuff like that. And they do it on a national level also. I mean, everything feeds up into a national organization. So.
Okay, that's cool. Who can come to these kinds of meetings?
Anyone, I guess. I don't know of anyone that they would turn away. I mean, we've had manufacturing people show up. We've had all kinds of different folks show up for some of our classes anyway. And they do other kinds of classes. They do safety, OSHA 30 and those kind of things as well. a lot of that kind of stuff. So that, I mean, that's kind of what their job is, I guess, or what their role is in the industry, is kind of help train and advocate for, general contractors. Now, they don't advocate necessarily for all the trade partners, but
And do people leave with certificates and stuff?
sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, like the CM Lean course that we're talking about. You can get a certificate if you take the test.
Well, you've got to, you've got to go through the 35 hours of training also.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's
a simple way, Jesse, for you to keep up your CM Lean credits that you need all the time. Your continuous learning. It's by teaching the class.
Yes, I'm gonna try and finagle in these podcasts and see if I can get them to count like the live streams that I'm doing with Jennifer that you've been on, Brian, on 5S and relationships. We'll see.
All your Gemba-based improvement stuff should work too.
100%.
And it's all self-reported, so they're not going to say no.
Right. But it's about, keeping the knowledge going and connecting.
Keeping it fresh.
Yeah, keeping it fresh. So with all of that magical background, Brian, what should the L&M family know about you, sir?
I don't know. It's a hard one. My background, I've been in construction since I was 10. I started working. My mom decided when I was 10 that I didn't need to hang out during the summer and play with all my friends. I needed to go hang out with my dad and work. So I did. My dad managed a little lumber company in a small town in Arkansas where I was born and raised. And they did everything from fix appliances to sell screws and nails and carpet and linoleum and wood and all that kind of stuff to build houses and built like a whole development. So it was a lot of stuff like that that they did, and I got so much exposure to everything. I worked for a plumber for a while one summer. I worked for the electrical folks one summer. I did all the installation on every house they built, it seemed like, because it was the crappiest job, and I was the youngest student there. I learned a lot of stuff like, just it's been in what I've done almost my whole life, and then when I was 17 or so, I started pipelining with my dad. We moved away from Arkansas and started well, not from Arkansas, but from our hometown, but started pipelining everywhere, so I did everything on that too. Started as a laborer and ended up operating equipment. I did some stuff with dynamite, which was a lot of fun.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
You
have an article about that experience, don't you?
I worked with this guy whose name was Lucky. Lucky was a failed country and western singer. He was a pretty interesting guy, but he was just kind of an a-hole too, but he didn't have any construction skills whatsoever. He was a good singer, but his choice of songs was just horrible. I mean, just horrible. But he had a really nice voice. He really did. But he would find the local watering hole, wherever that was, wherever he was working, and he had 45 box of 45s in his truck of all his songs. And he would take those 45s in there and talk to the people that owned the place and get them to open up the jukebox, and he would put his records on the jukebox.
Okay.
And then when he would go in there, he would go in and he would play a little bit of Waylon or something like that, just a couple songs, and then he would play every song that he had on there, and he would put them on repeat. He'd put like $10 or $15 in the jukebox.
Oh,
yeah, everybody was just like, stop.
Get him out of here. Step away from the jukebox.
But Lucky had gotten a bunch of DUIs too. Well, I don't know that he got arrested, but he'd wrecked a bunch of trucks driving home drunk from the bar a lot of times. So he went to high school with people that owned the company and was like sort of a pet project for them, I think, or something, because they kept him way past his effectiveness, which was pretty much nothing. But Lucky had wrecked a few trucks, and every time he was with a crew, they would just get mad at him and run him off and threaten to whoop his butt and just stuff like that. but finally, he'd wrecked enough trucks that he's in the worst truck that this company owns. It's like awful. Like the heater works all the time. You can't turn the heater off even during the summer.
Oh
And,
wow.
it's just beat to crap. And, it's been hit, not just on a job, on a construction site. Well, and this is a right of way. So it's not like you're not trying to build anything flat or anything like that. You're putting it back like it was before. So you're driving over rough terrain all the time. It's pretty terrible. But I was working on a crew where once we would make a change in direction, a lot of times when the dynamite pattern wouldn't blow out correctly there, and we would have to go back after the machines got in and dug the dirt around and what had been broken. And we were, 90-pound jackhammers, the whole deal, worked all day. And it was on this really important corner where we were going more than one direction, and having to take off in different directions. So we up there and we get all the dynamite loaded, and we're using, like, Jesse, these dynamite sticks were 16 inches long by 2 inches around. Some of our ditch, this was for sewer and water, so some of our ditch was 35 feet deep. It's in the mountains in northwest Arkansas. And, that's part of the reason why some of these patterns didn't blow all the time. Are you familiar with what a gamma goat is?
Negative.
Piece of equipment. It's just 2 tracks and a boom. And it pulls a compressor, and it basically runs the compressor helps it run, helps the tracks run. It runs off air. And that's what used for drilling what's used to use for drilling the holes for the dynamite too. But yeah, we were using 2 by 16 sticks of dynamite with lots of fertilizer, tamping all that in. So it was pretty interesting. I was 18-year-old kid doing this. Yeah. And I was running a crew, and our crew had gone back and we'd gotten everything loaded, worked all day. It's the end of the day. It isn't dark yet. And Lucky had never lit off any dynamite, and we weren't using electric caps or anything, just fuse. Just, you light it with a lighter. So Lucky had never lit any off and wanted to. And so we let him. We were all sitting at the top of the hill looking down at where we'd been working all day, about 200 yards away or so. And Lucky backs his truck up right to the ditch where this dynamite, where we put all this dynamite, and left it running, left the door open, and went down there, and he picks up the fuse, and he gets out his Bic and starts lighting it. And when you light dynamite fuse, it's a little bit weird. It kind of starts to spit at you when it finally does light. And it's just it's kind of shocking, because what's in the ground. Is kind of scary to think about, right? So, and it's burning. Oh God, now what's going to happen next? So he does it. He lights it, and it starts spitting at him. And he throws it down. He runs. He jumps in the truck, throws it reverse, and backs right off in the ditch, on top of the dynamite.
Oh.
And it's not a real deep ditch or anything, but he's sitting there and he's trying to rock that truck out, trying to get it out of the ditch. And then he looks behind him and he sees that fuel tank that's sitting there with all that diesel in it behind him in the truck. And he jumps out of the truck. And so I didn't really describe Lucky, but Lucky was one of these old time cowboys. He wore cowboy boots, pearl button shirt, unbuttoned down to about the belly button, with no t-shirt or anything underneath, all the hair showing, and a Mr. T starter kit. This is the 80s.
Yeah,
so he had 7, 8 gold chains on, and he's running up the hill with his cowboy hat, running away up towards where we are. His cowboy hat flies off. His gold chains are just a swinging back.
Nice.
And then it boomed, and then it went off. Wow. And I don't know how in the world that Lucky wasn't hit by any rocks or anything, because there was stuff up in the air flying and coming down for a while. I think he probably couldn't hear for 2 or 3 days after that.
Jeez.
But he didn't get hit by any rocks. He wasn't hurt. He was okay. And it blew the axle off that truck, so he killed one more truck for that. After that, they didn't give him enough.
That was it. My goodness.
So that was one of my introductions to construction, I guess. So.
Yeah. So you were doing insulation because you just said, man, that work looks so challenging. I want to learn how to be an expert.
Yeah, and I also one summer I spent working in attics, and it was when we had 115 degree. I mean, it was like the worst heat wave we'd ever had. We had the highest temperature in the nation one day in my little hometown.
Yeah.
And everybody needed new air conditioners during that summer. So I was the one that got to go up in all the attics too at 15.
Ooh, baby. Oh man, you
Ooh.
sweat that out, boy. So
Yeah.
with all this mix of excitement and adventures that you were having at such a young age, what were your earliest career aspirations?
I wanted to work out in the field. I mean, that
Yeah,
was, I really enjoyed it. I mean, that was fun. You know, I like having people work for me, like working on a crew and then having folks work for me. So, I really didn't have a lot of aspirations past there. Just go get a job,
yeah,
and work and do something you love. I mean, Jesse, pipelining, at 17, 18 years old when I was pipelining, I was homeschooling and going to
yeah.
school at night. But I was working so many hours that at $5 an hour, I was clearing over $500 a week.
Mm,
Whoa.
Yeah.
man, there ain't no sleep time in that.
And that's kind of the way pipeline was back then. It was
Yeah,
14, 15-hour days, 7 days a week. And,
yeah.
if it rained, you didn't work. But if
Right.
it
So you
wasn't
got to
raining,
get it when the
you're
getting's
there.
good. So what was it about working in the field that helped you say, man, this is what I want to do?
I think a lot of it was just getting to go be with my dad, and just
Uh,
hang out with him all the time, from being a kid, I mean, and I mean, what boy doesn't, especially if your dad does something like that, what boy doesn't want to go do, hang out and all that stuff. So, I mean, at 10, 11 years old, I was getting to wait on customers in that store and, learning, all that stuff. So yeah, it was great. It was amazing, learning all that stuff. And it was almost something new every day.
yeah, yeah. And so how much like that experience of having a deep connection and appreciation for the field, how much did that play into the name of your company now?
It's all of it. I mean, it's everything. And it's always been everything my whole career, even to the detriment of my career, I think, at times. Yeah, it's just, yeah,
So
that's the most important part.
so when you say debt to the detriment of your career, what do you mean?
Just, I always felt more of an affinity with those folks, I think, than I did in the folks in the head shed.
Ah, got you. So created some conflicts between.
Yeah, I just didn't always think like the folks in the head shed did about stuff.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, oh, I agree. Rather, the feeling is mutual. I've had that struggle where, come on, man, like this work that we're putting out there does not serve, like we can do better for them, for the men and women out there that are doing
Well, and for our clients too. I mean,
exactly.
if you don't treat those people in the field right, then you're not doing right by your clients either. You're
Mm,
just not, because you're not going to get the best job if you treat people like crap.
right,
So,
right. And there's just too many people that are I'm going to say distracted by schedule and budget, even though I know how important it is. But a healthy schedule and budget are outcomes of treating people appropriately.
to
It's not
quote
the
Jennifer Lacey, we can't do any of it without the people.
boom, mic drop. Right, exactly right. None of
I
it
mean, that's
matters.
just a piece of paper that has no purpose or meaning unless you have people doing that work.
Hmm. And we got to change our behavior such that we indicate why people matter. Right? We got to help people understand that, and then that's a long, long damn road. Um, so along your treks, because you have a breadth of experience, you're a veteran as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was
Eh,
with Third Ranger Battalion.
watch out. We got a ranger in the house, Renee. Don't be slacking. He's gonna get you.
I'm
Um,
not going to get you, Renee. I'm
no.
old and fat and broken, so you could probably outrun me pretty easily, even if I wanted to get after you. But if I caught you, I wouldn't know what the heck to do with you anyway. Besides
I
get my
wiggle
butt whooped.
fast. I wiggle really
Besides get my
fast. So.
butt whooped. That'd be about it.
So in your trek, Brian, um, what's the most meaningful learning you've had as a result of a painful misstep? And just a heads up, this piece will be fans only content. Uh, so that's kind of that's kind of a shout out to our people out there. But I know that you've got tremendous wisdom and knowledge and all the things that you've done and all the people that you've interacted with. And so I'm curious. I imagine that it's pretty significant.
You know how you get a lot of knowledge and wisdom, right?
Tell me.
Screwing up all the time. That's how that works, right? I think if you don't ever mess up, you don't ever really get that knowledge, beat into your head the way that it probably sticks the best. God, it's just, it's funny what we do to ourselves, Jesse. And I think that's probably my biggest thing. It's just, the many ways that we.
No, and here is the part where I interrupt the flow of the conversation to talk about Patreon and how you can support us to continue being commercial free. Check us out at patreon.com/learnings and missteps. By signing up to one of the tiers, I think they call them tiers because, it's a fancy word. By signing up for one of the tiers, you're going to get access to exclusive content that only our Patreon members get access to. One of those things is early release of the YouTube version of these episodes. You'll be able to see the wizardry and all my planning and note-taking in preparation and post-production of these episodes. Patreon.com/learnings and missteps. Love you guys, and here we go.
I feel like a lot of us believe that, and I think it's untrue, but I think a lot of us believe that when we're starting out and we're making decisions for other people, we got to make the first call, and we make a series of calls that are not right, that we gain this reputation that we don't know what we're doing. And that kind of instills like this fear in us that we got to make the right call all the
Renee,
time.
That's in your mind, not everybody else's. That's not necessarily the case with everybody else. It's just not. And that it's our own, we hold our own selves back way more than anybody else ever does anything to us. Fear and anger and those kind of things. I mean, those are tough ones, especially for me. Trauma sucks, but we all have it. And if we can remember that and kind of work from that sort of place, then I think, maybe we can be brave enough sometimes and do it. I mean, I'm not brave enough every time. I'm not.
Can you remember like a time when you mentioned earlier that you were running a crew when you were like around 18 years old? Can you remember a time making a bad call and it not being so bad?
Renee, you have to remember where I worked and what time period I worked in. When I told you we had 35-foot ditches, there was no ditch protection at all.
Oh man, that's crazy.
At all. And this was shot ditch, dynamited ditch. This wasn't just someone dug it. I mean, think about this. We were using great big sticks of dynamite as well as fertilizer, the stuff that they used in the Oklahoma City bombing, that fertilizer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah, that didn't go bad. I'm still here.
So there was no benching or shoring or anything.
Well, I mean, there was benching. Yeah. The good operators did bench. They knew. They didn't want to have to dig somebody out. They knew what the heck was up. And they did. And usually the ditches I was in were ones that my dad had dug. So, not that he is Superman or anything, although I did see him fly once. So we were in Oklahoma, and I started out pipelining, oiling for my dad. That's what I started doing. An oiler works on pieces of equipment and makes sure that they're kept that it's not a mechanic, but you keep everything oiled, you keep all the dirt, out of the tracks and whatever. You're just a gopher, you help the operator and hopefully you get a chance to sit in the seat and learn to operate if it's a good operator, and they'll let you. But I started out as an oiler for my dad, and I watched him one time. It scared the crap out of me. But they had this lowboy, because you always had to load these. And he was in a link belt about 4,300, which was the biggest one they made at the time. And he was going to put the link belt up on this lowboy, trailer, and it picked up the back of the truck, and the trailer brakes were not working on this trailer, and it picked up the back of the truck, and they were on a hill, and you back the piece of equipment up onto the lowboy, and he's already got his tracks up off the ground. So now the thing is starting to roll down the hill with him halfway on.
Mm.
So he's got that bucket, he's slamming that bucket into the ground, trying to stop that truck from. And I think we had to pry that seat cover out of his rear end when he finally did stop. He got to the bottom of the hill and stopped rolling. But it was that was a pretty interesting day too. I mean, there were some interesting folks that worked there. I watched a guy turn a rubber tired backhoe upside. Well, I didn't watch him turn it over. I saw the backhoe after he had turned it over. But he turned it all the way completely upside down. Didn't even turn it off. Just got in his truck and left and went home for the day.
Wow.
Okay, I'm done for the day. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But he was still operator the next day, right?
No, they fired him, but they brought him back.
Okay.
I mean, this was a small company. It was like that. I mean, everybody got fired at least once by then. That was the way it went.
Okay.
Nice. So, Brian, you mentioned earlier saying, I don't know. How long did it take you to build that practice of just saying, I don't know?
What time is it?
Still working on it, huh?
Still working on that one. I mean, yeah. It's tough to look like you don't know. I mean, like Renee says, we get that in our brain where we think that people think we don't know what's going on. We feel like people might lose confidence in us. And it's tough thinking that you always have to be right.
Yeah. Where do you think that comes from?
Oh God, I know exactly where it comes from.
All right, tell me. Let's go.
My mom was mentally ill and a perfectionist, and all kinds of things like that. So yeah, lots of childhood trauma for that.
Got it. Well, and I see that same behavior in our industry, like rampant, where people, as they grow in their career and their influence and responsibility expands, they also have the same fear of saying, I don't know.
And we don't do a good job of training folks. Once we get those really good foremen or superintendents or project managers, and we want to move them up to that next level, we just don't tell them how to even do that next level. We just expect them to already know, even though it's a completely different skill set. I mean, if you're going to go be a project executive, that's not the same as being a project manager. But we don't tell them anything more. We don't train them any different. We just throw them in and say, go figure that out, and expect it to go really well. And it doesn't. People don't get treated well. I mean,
I've been able to observe that coming up as a plumber and then working in the space that I work now. Now what I've been able to see is, especially like that engineer, field engineer, project manager, project executive track, people get really good at managing things, right?
And we don't teach them anything about how to deal with people.
You got it. And then they get to the PM, senior PM, PX level, and now they're responsible for guiding and developing a team, but they do it like they're managing a thing, right? And so there's this. I think it's an enormous market to go and maybe offer some value, where they progress. They get to this spot where now all of a sudden they're not treating people very well. People aren't growing and developing around them.
So funny.
And now we hire a executive coach. Like, okay, now you suck. Let's teach you these skills.
But that's at the VP level, Jesse. That's not at the project manager level. It's like that you're on your own figuring all that out until you get to a point where we really like you.
Yeah, and then we're going to try to teach you the skills to treat people like
after
human
you've
beings.
already been this way in your career for 15 years.
Exactly. What do you think about that?
I think that's stupid.
Is it fun?
No. So, one of the things that I'm doing, when the pandemic hit, my business went to zero, all the way to nothing, because I was not 100% traveling on the road, going places.
Yep.
And all of that ended, and no travel, people weren't bringing me in. There was nothing. So I've slowly sort of figured out different ways, and want to do different things, and do more different things. So I'm doing some CM Lean. I'm doing a full CM Lean virtual course. And
Yep.
I'm doing that again next year, also for TechSo at the beginning of the year. But one of the things that I've started doing, sort of, is just I've got a little small cohort. And that is the best thing that I'm doing right now. It's 6 folks, and I purposely targeted people at the project manager or that level of and below, because they don't get access to coaching of any sort, ever. And this has been so amazing. It's just Adam Hoots will tell you, he's in my cohort, and it's just been more than I ever could have imagined. So we meet for 2 hours once a month. And I'll do maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes of directed learning, just something, something that I've seen in the months since I've talked to them, and say, here it is. And we talk about it. And then we just problem solve for the rest of our time together. And they bring their problems, and they all solve their. It's pretty easy for me. I just sit there and kind of help
facilitate. Yeah.
And they're developing relationships between each other, and it's the best thing I think that I'm doing. And it's really hard to get people to understand it.
Yes, I feel you 100%.
I mean, I would love to be doing 3 or 4 of these a week or a month or whatever. And it's I've got some folks who see the value in it, and 2 or 3 or 4 folks who are ready to sign up for that next class. And it's just understanding how to tell people what it is. I mean, it's my fault. If I could figure out how to get it explained well enough that people understood what they'd get out of it, then I think it'd be easier.
So how do people, let's say right now we got some L&M family members saying, oh man, I think I need some of that juice. How do they
just reach out to me?
Yeah.
I don't have I'm getting ready to set up the next class. I've got a couple folks lined up already, and several that said they're interested. But just reach out to me. I'm looking to do, like I said, 3 or 4 or 5 of these a year. And it's a year-long commitment from the folks. So we meet once a month for 2 hours every month. I sent them a nice little care package. They got nice little field-driven lean shirts and some other stuff.
Do you send a hat? Your whiz bang hat there? Oh, there we go. Nice.
Now they get a field-driven lean hat, but this is special. They don't.
That's the hat. I love it. I think you're
pretty sure I am Tweedledum, though.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I think you're providing a fabulous service, Brian, because it is a gap out there. And to your point, their organizations don't have a system set up to serve or fill that gap.
And what I'm seeing, Jesse, with that is that it's also a great way for people internally. If you wanted to start this sort of program internally, it's a great way to grow lean champions within your organization.
Ooh, so tell me more. That sounds interesting.
So that's sort of the next step I'm seeing with this is taking this sort of to customers, and larger customers probably, but one organization in particular that I'm working with that I'm thinking about doing this with. But they're a nationwide organization, have people all over. I'd rather that the folks didn't work together in the groups, because I think that could maybe keep some folks from maybe participating as freely.
Right.
I don't mind if they work for the same company, as long as they're not like on the same project or in the same department or whatever.
Power dynamics can muddy up. Yep.
Because what stays in Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We make sure that's one of the rules. I mean, that has to be, that trust has to be earned and built over time.
Yes.
So that's what I kind of see as a way, and that's what I've seen work really well for organizations too, is to start finding those people who are interested, and then start to give them some knowledge. and let them meet together and sort of grow that interest together. I mean, man, the stuff that bubbles up there is just going to be so great when you do that.
Yeah. Create the space for people to share their thinking, share their problems, because the reality to your, like the spirit of your questions, Renee, the question of, am I making the wrong decision? And how's that going to impact my credibility? Everybody has that question. Brian, you mentioned the word imposter earlier. Everybody has that. Well, I'm gonna say 98% of the people I know have that concern. Like, do I even belong here? The 2% that don't, they're not my favorite kind of people.
Well, they might be a little bit psychopathic.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you don't have any empathy for somebody, there's a word for that, and it's called psychopathy.
I love
So,
it.
I mean, that's that's kind of where I see that companies could do the best, and then they can figure out what works for them out of that group, and
Yes.
that's where you grow those processes that work for your organization, that you get to start making it perfect for you.
Yes, customized, contextualized for the people
And the
in
great
your
news about that
organization.
kind of thing, Jesse, is they don't need me continuing on forever and ever holding their hand. That they can start growing that capacity right away, very quickly, and I can bow out and go to the next folks very soon when that happens.
Nice. What do you think, Renee?
Yeah, sounds like a great idea.
Yep. That's what it's about, sharing that knowledge and experience with the rest of the folks out there.
Yeah, because I mean, that's what it's about, Jesse, right? Is building coaching capacity within the organizations, so that, coaching happens up and down.
Yep. Like, you got to have that feedback loop, right? The feedback loop is not a loop. Most organizations are set up such that information goes up.
Shit falls down.
And you got it. How eloquently stated. And so fielddrivenlean.com, is that the way people can go and dig in and see what they're interested in? And thank you, by the way. I know you have our podcast up there as a link, so appreciate the support, Mr. Brian.
No, I don't mind sharing other coaches. I mean, a rising tide lifts all ships, and there's other people doing God's work out there too. And I'm not the only one. And if I was acting like that, then please don't hire me, because I don't have any idea what I'm talking about if I'm the only one.
I'm an expert. Oh man, that's a whole other interview about experts. So what footprint do you intend to leave on the world, Brian? I mean, you have a lot of reach out there.
So one of the things that I use in my practice all the time is liberating structures. And I think this is probably a good place to talk about that, because liberating structures are I don't even know how they're game changers for just about anybody. They were a game changer for me. The moment that I was introduced to them, I saw the potential for what they could help me do.
Okay.
They are based in complexity science. They are small structures that anyone can learn. They're fully developed. All the instructions are there when you go look for them. It's on the website. That help you facilitate and manage and meet and have better interactions with people. That's really what they help you do. Groups of people. Although you can use them alone by yourself, it's pretty interesting. They because they are based in complexity science. There's a you go from A to B to C to D, and doing the instructions on them, but they're really simple. So just one of the structures is 1, 2, 4 all, and that structure is meant to help you get everybody involved in whatever the challenge or question that you're working on is. And the way 1, 2, 4 all works, and the very first one is the most important one, I think, is you get 1 minute of silent reflection. We ask people questions way too many times as coaches without ever giving them an opportunity to sit and think about what we just asked them. And this puts that in there always. You don't have to be a lot of time, but 1 minute of silent reflection on the question or challenge. And then after that 1 minute, you get a gong or a timer or whatever. You go find another person, and the two of you talk about whatever you discovered during your silent reflection on the question or challenge. And you get 2 minutes for that. So the 1, 2, and then after 2 minutes, the gong rings again, and the pair of you goes and finds another pair, and the 4 of you together discuss what you discussed in pairs, but noticing what is the same for all 4 of you. And start to find those similarities, where everything is kind of the same. And you bring those whatever bubbles to the top, that's what the all brings back to the group. And, you can very quickly, you can crowdsource a question or a problem or anything and get a lot of answers very quickly and have, a way to go, what to move forward very quickly with everybody participating, which is pretty awesome. So 1, 2, 4 all is foundational in that a lot of other liberating structures will use it as part of the structure, as part of helping do some of the other work in those structures.
So when you pose that first question or challenge, and with the instructions of spend a minute in silence reflecting, how do people react to that? What do you see?
It's good. They want it, Jesse.
Okay.
They really do. They really do. Now, I mean, if there's a question, sometimes I'll just extend it. I'll go longer than a minute. I don't care, because that's really the most important part, is giving folks a chance to have that time to think. I mean, we're never given any chance to think. We always have to have those answers now.
Yep.
And that's stupid. It's not the right way to go about it. We really should take a minute and I mean, before I respond to my wife, the way that I respond to her sometimes, I really ought to take a darn minute and think about what I'm about to say, and maybe figure out how I'm going to say it. And maybe if we move that practice into our personal life and just into our life in general, and not always having to say something right away. I mean, I'm terrible about that. That's me to a T.
It reminds me, because it's such an uncommon behavior, like we're just conditioned, right? Question, response, thought, response.
You only have 5 seconds.
Right. Ryan Tingy, who's awesome. I worked with him previously. One day he's like, "Hey, Jess, are you being completely transparent and open with me?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course. Like, what makes you think I'm not?" He's like, "Well, when I ask you or when we're talking, there's always a pause between what I ask or say and what you respond." I'm like, "Yeah." And that is a skill that I've only begun to develop. Like, it's a new thing. And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." He's like, "Well, it kind of makes me feel like you're just filtering your words and being more calculated about your response." I was like, "Oh, well, that's interesting." I was like, "Well, I appreciate the feedback. But the reason behind it is, to your point, Brian, rather than respond in an emotional state, I want to process what you just said and make sure I'm understanding what the intent of the question, and respond in such a way that it serves you and serves this conversation."
Respect.
With respect.
It's more respect, Jesse, when you think about it. Answering quickly is not as respectful as taking time to hear what somebody's saying and think about what they said, and formulating an answer, a thoughtful answer.
Yes.
Is way more respectful than
just off the hip. Yeah.
Well,
but again,
but it's not thought of that way. It made him feel weird.
It made him feel weird. Like, what do you like? What was my? I'm like, dude, I'm not that smart to be like calculating stuff. Like, I'm just talking. I'm just trying not to be rude and be a jerk. Like, that's all I'm trying to do here. He's like, "Oh, okay, good." Like,
you really don't know me if you think I can calculate past about this many. Maybe if I take my shoes off.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, reminds me when you ask a kid, "How old are you?" "This many." Oh man, this was an awesome conversation. And for folks out there, if you don't know, Brian is also a skilled writer. He's got some poetry out there. He's
I'm in
got
trouble
some.
right now. I don't know what's going on. They my Medium site is blocked right now. I've got to figure out what's happening there.
Really?
Yeah, here. Let's see. Yeah, when I go on there, there's a banner across the top. Says this count was under investigation and was found in violation of Medium rules. So
Oh,
nobody can
okay.
get to it right now, but we'll edit this part out. But anyway, it
Yeah,
should be
you
good in a
got
day
it.
or two. I've emailed them now, so I'm not sure what I did.
Okay, no worries, man. But I'll make sure and put some links in the show notes so that people can access it. Um, is there anything that you wanted to cover or bring to our audience that we haven't touched on? Oh man, that's awesome. So listeners, y'all got to go to the YouTube version of this episode to see all of the super cool hats that Brian's like he's got a costume party going
So
on over here.
very early in the pandemic, I started holding lean coffees for
Mm,
LCI and anybody else. I had lean coffees with one other person in them virtually. Jesse, I did.
nice.
Like anywhere, just learning how to do stuff virtually. And I had some hats. My father, see the rifle up there behind me. My
Yep.
father-in-law mailed that to me from Afghanistan. I got it via UPS from Afghanistan.
Wow.
It's an 1867 British Enfield rifle. It was a trade rifle, and it was given to the Afghanis. It's been marked up and got some neat stuff on there. It's actually fireable. We could fire it if
Oh
we
wow.
wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah, but he sent me some neat hats. I've got a couple of really tall Afghan hats and some other stuff here. I have this really legit crown.
Yeah, bro.
And I don't know, it just kind of morphed into a thing while I was doing lean coffees. I would send people out to breakout rooms, and when they'd come back, I'd be wearing a different hat or, a funny hat or something. Just kind of
Yeah,
morphed into a thing. So now I'm the hat dude.
you're the hat dude.
But the eagle means a lot to me.
Okay.
In 1983, on the same job that I was on with Lucky at the same time, in Northwest Arkansas, I rescued a juvenile bald eagle on the 4th of July.
No way.
Yes, I
Wow.
did. Yes, I did. Me and a friend on the 4th of July, we're driving down the road and we see this thing in the middle of the road out in the country. And I don't know what it is. My dad's dog is with me. We'd been swimming that morning at the lake, and my dog's going crazy. So I grabbed him up, threw him in the cab, and grabbed some towels that I had in the cab. And we go and it's a bald eagle. And I don't know why it couldn't fly because it had its adult feathers. And usually when they have their adult feathers, they can fly.
Hmm.
So we got it, grabbed it up, took it to his parents' house where he lived, and put it in a little kennel and got it some water, got it some raw hamburger meat. I don't think they slept for the next 2 or 3 days because that thing just hollered and hollered and hollered
Oh
the whole
God.
time.
Yeah. Yep.
But Game and Fish showed up and were kind of mad at us for messing with it. But I mean, it would have been dead if we hadn't have rescued it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They didn't believe us when we told them that we had a bald
That you
eagle.
found, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Well,
you
I mean,
called them and told them. Yeah. Got it.
they'd only been reintroduced to the area like in 1979. This is 83. So they'd only been around for a few years. And I don't know what was wrong with that eagle, if something was wrong with it or whatever, but it was definitely dehydrated.
10-4. Well, you touched on lean coffees, and I'm wondering, Renee, do you know what a lean coffee is?
No, what's that?
So a lean coffee is a great way to have a meeting that doesn't have an agenda when you start. So it was Jim Benson and Jeremy Lightsmith in Seattle wanted ways to sort of spice up their meetings. So what you do is you come together and you all sort of nominate topics that you'd like to talk about. You put them on sticky notes when we do it in person. And usually you can have like a unifying theme if you want to, but you don't have to. It could be wide open about anything. And it's a way to have an unstructured or a structured meeting without an agenda. So you create the agenda as you go. So everybody puts whatever topics they would like to up on the board, and then everyone gets a chance to go up and vote on those topics, 2 or 3 votes or whatever that is. And whatever the highest vote getting topic is, you grab it, and as a group you talk about it for 8 minutes, and then you decide if you want to talk about it a little bit more, and then you ask everyone for takeaways on what, on the conversation, and you gather those up afterwards and go on to the next topic. So
Oh, that's cool.
so it's sort of a crowdsourcing, what you're going to do, what your meeting's going to be about.
And they usually result in very deep, meaningful conversations. And the most important, or in my head, the most valuable piece is everybody's going to talk about what they want to talk about. And because everybody had a say in it, the dialogue is much richer than what a typical meeting would be, where one person's the talking head and everybody's there just kind of listening. It's a great way to connect with people, for sure.
I've become very anti-agenda for meetings for myself. I know, the things that I might want to accomplish, and I don't mind having that, but having a full step-by-step agenda, we're going to spend 5 minutes on this. It's just so rigid. It doesn't allow us to really solve anything. And if we're having a meeting and not solving things, then why are we having a meeting?
Exactly. You're going to send a damn email.
Or just don't even talk to me if we're not solving anything. I mean,
yes.
Do we need to be here? And that's something that I think we've gotten way too much of during the pandemic, because it's so easy to jump on a Zoom or a Teams and
waste time.
Well, one of my clients has instituted, and I love the policy, is that every 30-minute meeting is now 25 minutes. Every hour meeting is now 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got that 10 minutes between.
Yeah, get through it, and now we can process, identify action items, get it on your calendar, and prep for the next whatever the hell it is you got to do. That's a solid practice.
Yeah. Well, probably still not enough, but still.
Oh, it's a move in the right direction. It's a move in the right direction, 100%.
Well, and they also instituted a policy that it's okay if you feel like you don't need to be at a meeting, just don't go.
Yep. That's always a question I have. And I don't like first.
What am I adding? What am I adding?
What is my purpose? What value do you seek from me? And what value am I going to receive? If I can't add any value, I don't need to be there. And if I'm not going to receive any value, selfishly, I don't really want to be there. It's
Liberating Structures has this, it's very Lean Coffee-esque, but it's called Open Space. And it's a structure outside of Liberating Structures also. But it works a lot like a Lean Coffee, where everybody comes together and sort of decides the topics that they want to talk about. But you talk about all 3 or 4, you choose the top 3 or 4, and you allow folks to choose which group they want to be a part of in open space. And you can do this with a small group, or as large as thousands and thousands of people can do this.
Yep.
But what's neat about it is it uses this thing called the law of 2 feet. So if you find that you're not contributing or learning, use your 2 feet and go someplace else.
And get on out. Oh, yeah. 10-4. Well, Brian, I appreciate you giving us your time this morning. And I appreciate really sharing your wisdom with Renee. That's one of the peripheral benefits that have turned out to be pretty darn enormous. I didn't understand how much Renee was going to benefit from this. And every time we close the conversation, he's like, man, the wisdom that all of our guests bring really help him in his life as a father, as a husband, and professionally. I just wish it would make him a better little brother. I'm joking.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
He's amazing.
Jesse,
man.
he's so far ahead of me and you, man.
No lie. That is correct. Yes, sir.
I mean, at his age, understanding that there is something to know other than figuring out everything.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, because I don't know that anybody could have fit any knowledge in my head much more, unless it was with a 2x4 when I was in my 20s. I mean, I learned some things, but I was in the Army, so I learned them the hard way.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. So again, man, thank you for being gracious with your time and imparting your wisdom and point of view for my baby brother there, Renee, and for the L&M family out there.
Well, and tell Ernest I said hello. We were supposed to hook up sometime here pretty quick. Your other brother, who's not here today, but
Yep.
we both share a love of writing, so we talk too. So not the only Hernandez that I hang out with, sir.
That's right. That's right. You got all of us, man. There's not too many people that can deal with that.
So Renee, I'll let you know when that next level up. The program's called Level Up with Gene again, or Level Up with Lean. Again, that's thanks to Jennifer Lacey.
Yeah.
She gave me the name, so
Nice.
shout
Nice.
out to her. But I'll let you know, Renee. I mean, if that sounds like something you'd want to do, maybe we figure out a weekend one or something.
Yeah, that would be cool.
10-4. Good. All right, Brian, you be cool, my man. All right, Renee. Well, you just got to meet another member of the L&M family, Mr. Brian Winningham, who has had a significant impact on me and the industry. What'd you think about the conversation?
Fantastic conversation. I really appreciated the authenticity of Brian Winningham. I appreciate the wisdom and the conversation we had on fighting the imposter syndrome. I think there's a lot the L&M family has to learn from this interview, and I think we have a shout out to do.
Yeah, we do have a shout out. So the shout out is for Mr. Faye Blend, who we've connected through LinkedIn and the live streams that we've been doing, the 5S in relationship live streams that we've been doing with Miss Jennifer Lacey. And so Faye says, it is always a pleasure. Nothing matches the zeal to want to be a better version of oneself. Just as a process improvement is vital for a startup with great vision, continuous personal improvement is also vital for everyone who desires a better life. You and your co-host, he's not talking about you, he's talking about Jennifer, give insights, and that is like the fuel needed to continue on a journey of personal improvement. I celebrate you, Faye. We celebrate you, my man. He is a fierce supporter. And those words, man, like, doesn't that make you feel like, oh, I feel good now? Doesn't it help fight the imposter syndrome? What do you think, Renee?
Yeah, for sure. It's very reaffirming. And, all the fancy words make me want to stick my pinky out when I take a drink of my water.
You're a goofball. And so here's some feedback for you, Renee. I missed you. I didn't know how much I missed you on these interviews. I love the vulnerability in the way that you ask questions. And I need to tell you, man, and for the rest of the L&M family out there, actually, Walker Lott mentioned, he's like, dude, what happened to Renee? Where's he at? Like, what's going on? I said, dude, he was making all that money. He's back. But I want to tell you, your comfort level at asserting yourself and asking questions while we're having the conversation, phenomenal. Good job, man. I applaud you. I love you. And thank you for showing up and not playing small, being vulnerable and just bringing it the way that you bring it. Man, you are one dedicated listener, sticking with us all the way through to the very, very end. Please know that this podcast dies without you, and we invite you to share how the episode's impacting you, along with your thoughts, questions, and suggestions. You have been gracious with your time, so we added social media links in the show notes to make it super easy for you to connect with us. Be kind to yourself, stay cool, and we'll talk at you next time.